Morning. Welcome to a lovely December morning in Worcestershire. Just a doorstep walk this morning. About 3 miles. Frosty to start. It's starting to thaw a little bit now. But absolutely lovely. But what I want to talk about today is Apple Watch. I think in a few previous videos I've been threatening to give my opinions on and a kind of field review of the Apple Watch and its use for walkers and hikers, really. So in other words, kind of, is it of use to somebody like me and some of you guys out there who do very, very similar things to me, compared to some of the more, should we say, specific pieces of equipment like the Garmin's, which are designed for hiking, climbing and walking specifically, rather than the Apple Watch, which is kind of an all-rounder, really. So so that's not going to be an in-depth tech review. It's more about how I found it over the last few years of having one. Does it do the job that I want it to do? And would I recommend it? And some of the features that I find useful. So it's kind of a little bit of an overview, just something, I guess, to whet the appetite if you're thinking about dipping your toe into an Apple Watch for the hiker. And one thing I would say is that if you're not in the Apple universe, so you don't have an iPhone, iMac, whatever, Macintosh, then I would say from the get-go, don't bother with an Apple Watch as a standalone device. Go for something else. Without further ado, then we'll get into the review. See you in a bit. Now, the first and foremost thing that kind of drew me to an Apple Watch, as a walker, was the fact that I can have basically a phone that's flat. And in my case, because it's a cellular watch, I can make a phone call or send a text. And a couple of times, mainly because I do film on the phone. I mean, that's something I do. I've got a very lightweight, stripped down rig in terms of filming. So phone battery, particularly on cold days like this, can slip away quite quickly. And I've been caught out a few times where you've literally got a flat battery, your charging bricks in the back, and I'm not able to make a phone call and just let your nearest and dearest know you're safe and sound, really. And Apple Watch has come to the rescue. I've been able to make that phone call and send that text that all is fine and dandy, which is a good thing when you've got family who are concerned as to your well-being up in the hills and mountains. So that's the first thing, really. Now, you can't make a phone call from a Garmin. As good as it is at what it does, you can't have it as a backup phone. So, you have to take a second phone with you, basically. So that's the first thing that I like about the Apple Watch, is that it's basically a spare phone on your wrist, but only if you've got the cellular version. If you're thinking about an Apple Watch, get a cellular one. Now, another feature that it's not an obscure feature on the Apple Watch, and for most people it's probably neither here nor there, really, but it's the fact that it's got a little torch on it. Basically, it uses the screen of the watch to it lights up really brightly, either white or red, and quite a few times on hikes and in general life, really, it's kind of handy to have a torch on your wrist at all times, always with you, and that's really, really handy and really, really cool. It's something I use a lot. It's one thing you find with an Apple Watch. You think, well, what use can I have for it? And as you get one, as you get into it, you find actually there's lots and lots of little little uses that you didn't think you would have. That's like this, like the torch feature. That actually, once you've sort of had it, you kind of really miss it when it's not there. So yeah, decent feature number 2, the torch. Okay, I guess feature number 3, probably the most important one for the walker and hiker really, is, does it track the hike? And the answer is yes, it is. All iWatches, all Apple Watches are, I've got a GPS built in, no matter what model you've got. I think all the way from 3 onwards anyway, Apple Watch 3 onwards, they've all got a GPS built in. And I think from the SE onwards, they've all got an altimeter built in, giving you your elevation. So it does a decent job of tracking your walk or your hike. You know, you get an elevation profile. You've obviously got a route marked out on where you've been. And if you use the built-in app, the Apple sort of hiking app, that's available on your phone to see. Now, there are a lot of aftermarket apps, and to be honest, they are probably better. Map My Walk, Map My Hike, and a load of others as well. However, you can put a route in to the watch and literally follow it on the watch. You don't need the phone with you at all. Once it's down low, once you get your map in, you put your route marks in and your bearings, and you can literally follow it off your watch. It's fantastic, really. So it's really cool. It gives you a little tap on the wrist as to where to go left and right and what bearing to take, and you just follow the compass setting, because there is a built-in compass as well. So you've got everything it needs to basically do your navigation on, or at least have it as a backup for navigation, at least. Again, when you're in the field, even if you don't use a map and compass all the time, you always need a map and compass in your pack, just in case, don't we? You know, it sort of goes without saying, really. But so yeah, it does. Now, it's not a particularly big device, and the battery's not particularly big. Now, I've had 3 Apple Watches. The first one I had was an Apple Watch 3, and that was a non-cellular, and it was pretty decent, but I found the battery life when tracking things like running and walks was pretty good for about 6 or 7 hours. So, you know, you could go out for a 6 or 7 hour walk, and you could track it with an aftermarket app, something like Map My Walk. And I found you was getting about 6 or 7 hours out of it. Then the battery was getting flat. I then upgraded to an SE, an Apple Watch SE, which was a cellular version, because I wanted the cellular facility. And that was a lot better. That would go for about 8 to 10 hours. And then finally I've upgraded to an Apple Watch 7. And I find that's pretty good. I mean, I've been out in the field now for 10 to 12 hours, constantly tracking the hike. So I haven't been using it as a route or finding. I've just been tracking where I've been. So in other words, it's just for my own purposes, really, to look back at the data, the height, where I went, etc. Tracking the heart rate, tracking the calories used. In other words, treating the walk a bit like a workout. And I found that, you know, it's good for 10 to 12 hours on the Apple Watch 7. It's really, really good. Can you use it to follow a route? Yes, you can. Is it accurate? Yes, it is. Elevation's accurate to within 1 or 2 meters of vertical, and the GPS is pretty damn good, to be perfectly honest. It's not far out. You know, it's probably down to about 5 meters either way, and it's pretty much got you. Again, like a lot of these things with the GPS, you need to be able to see the satellite above you, don't you? You know, if you're in a wooded area, it's not going to be quite so accurate, but in open fields like this, it's bang on. Another really decent feature I find is, and I use it a lot, is that I can actually take a video or take a photograph. So I can mount my phone, iPhone obviously, on a tripod, and through the watch I can not only trip the shutter to take the video footage or the photograph, but I can also see what the camera can see on the phone. So that's really, really handy. So it helps for framing and shot selection. So that's a really neat feature, that is. And again, it's something I use a lot of, because I tend to go out walking a lot, particularly local, on my own. So again, decent feature number 4. Again, you don't need it, but once you've had it, you're reluctant to let that feature go. So it's really, really cool. Another really cool feature of the Apple Watch as well is it's got like a fall sensor. You know, if you literally, if you're scrambling, you slip and you fall quite badly, and there's an element of shock that the body takes, and hence the watch, it will automatically call the blue light services. You know, it'll ring 999 if you're in trouble. Obviously, this only really works if you've got a cellular version. I would say if you're going to go down the Apple Watch route, definitely get a cellular. Because a lot of these features are kind of null and void if you're in the field and you haven't got Wi-Fi, which you aren't going to have, are you? So you're going to need a cellular version. But you know, so if you're on your own, you slip and fall, it will call the services and it'll give them your position, your GPS position. So that's a really neat feature. It's kind of another piece of insurance, isn't it, when you're out in the field on your own. Another good feature really of the Apple Watch is it's a good all-rounder. It's effectively like having a smartphone on your watch. You know, it's not a specific tool for hiking and walking. So you know, yes, you can not only check your emails, you know, if you want to. I know you go walking to get off the grid, but in the real world we do need to be in touch, don't we, most of the time. You know, you can check your WhatsApp messages and whatnot, and all that's available on your wrist without having to get your phone out your pack. So that's really, really neat. So if you're going out, you know, literally just on a walk, you're not filming, you know, if you're a creator, you can just leave your phone in your bag or your pocket, and you can access all the, you know, all these little messages that come through in the real world, and access them on your wrist. Talking about access, most of the functions are accessed via the screen, so it's touch sensitive screen. Now the watch is fully waterproof down to 50 meters, so you can use it for swimming. So if you know, if while swimming is your thing, Apple Watch is perfectly fine for that. What I would say is when things get wet, particularly if you're using a cover, which I used when I go hiking, I used to use a cover that covered the screen as well. It really protects the watch, but if you get any dampness behind there, instantly your functionality then just drops away. You can't really control the watch at all. So what I do now, I use a bumper case which goes around the edge, and it's raised like a bezel, a raised bezel around the screen. So it allows the screen to be, it's not covered basically. So you've got to be mindful if you're scrambling, because it will take the screen out if you hit it. It is a sapphire screen, but nevertheless it would scratch. So, but that allows me then to operate the watch, track my route, follow the route suggestions if you're using it for route finding, and it'll work in the wet. It doesn't affect it at all. So it's pretty good in that respect. But bear in mind, if you do use a screen cover on it, in the wet, the functionality drops off, so it's not ideal. I only use the screen cover now when I'm working. I work outside as a job, so I tend to use that because it does offer the watch protection. But when I'm hiking and walking now, it's a bumper case. Okay guys, I hope you found this review stroke overview of the Apple Watch with regard to hiking and climbing and walking somewhat useful. Again, a lot of it's my experience over the last 2 or 3 years of owning one. In summary, definitely recommend it if you're looking for a great all-rounder outdoor stroke fitness wearable device.